children lived through all of this, so I think some of the things that they read or that they heard me talk about were new to them, or at least were looked at from a different perspective. But by the time they listened to me about that, and by the time they saw what I had written, they were not really kids anymore. I don't really know how old they were, but they were adults. And I think they appreciated my openness about all of this. Nothing was totally new for them. They knew that there was tension between Laura and me. I don't know whether they realized that a lot of that tension came as a result of how we saw them differently.
Mm-hmm.
And
can you give examples, extrapolate on that?
I think that Laura was more set, in a sense, in her ways. When we said something to the children, she regarded that as the law laid down. And if I listened to them protest and gave in to some extent to their desires, she felt that that was unworkable. She felt I was betraying her if I did not stick exactly to what we had sometimes agreed to. I was willing to discuss and modify what we had decided, and she felt once we said something, we had to stick to it.
Did you think you were being weak or caving in or been manipulated by the kids?
I expect so, yes.
You also discussed how she was glad you were doing things outside of the house, but she resented that, and she could money. You would do things outside the house, but then she kind of resented that, politics and other stuff, and money was a sticking issue, much less sex.
Well,
so sex, money, kids, you had the whole gambit.
Well, that's true. My salary, and I mentioned how much it was, although it's hard to translate that after a time that long into money that means what it means today. I was hired at a salary, regardless of how much it was, that was not sustaining the family. We really tried to skimp on a lot of things. Laura did not like to spend money, but she had worked before I did. I came with nothing into the marriage and into the job, and the two things happened at the same time. As you remember, I came to Rutgers the same year that we got married, and the salary was just not enough. But she had worked in the industry, as a designer, as a fabric designer, for several years, and was to some extent at the top of her profession. And she had saved some money. Basically, we used that as a down payment as payment for the lot that we bought, and later down payment on the house that we built on it. We tried very hard not to use it for our daily expenses, for our normal living, and I don't think we did. But that meant that money was always in short supply. When the children came, it was something that both of us had wanted very much, and we were very happy with the children. But then as they grew, we first of all saw how very different they were. And
one child, Tommy, was like extrovert, really bright, didn't really confine to normal schooling. He wanted to do his own thing. And one daughter, you said, was very quiet, shy, withdrawn.
Yes, I think that's roughly it. And we were not really prepared for that. The fact that she was shy and he was very outgoing and dominant made it necessary for us to pay special attention to her. And I'm not sure to what extent we actually managed to do this before we understood exactly what was going on.
Did your son Tommy resent that, or he was doing his own thing anyway?
No, I think the resentment was more likely to come from her as the younger child and the one that is on the neglected side as a result of his constant motion and activity and excitement and total involvement of whoever was in the room. When he came into a room, the room vibrated. And when she came into a room, she just sat in a corner and observed.